Today's video, going to be replacing the full front suspension on this Hyundai Sonata. Right here you can see the upper control arm, lower ball joint, which attaches to the knuckle, inner and outer tie rod, and the sway bar end link. So we're going to pretty much refresh the whole front end. Because we're doing pretty much the whole front end, I'm not going to do it in any specific order. I'm just going to start removing everything attached to the knuckle to make it lighter, to remove the knuckle, and then we'll take off whatever's remaining, like the shock and the upper control arm. Caliper mount bracket is 17mm. You should have a bolt right here holding this brake line, this ABS sensor line in. For some reason they never put it back previously. 12mm bolt that holds this brake hose. Another 12mm bolt holding the brake line to the strut mount. $10mm bolt. Number 3 Phillips. You take off this cotter pin to this axle nut. $32mm nut. Now we're going to move the tie rod in. 17mm. Since we're putting in a new outer tie rod, we can go ahead and just smack it. You don't have to worry about protecting the threads. Now we're going to move the bottom ball joint, take off the cotter pin and the nut. $22mm nut. Now we're going to take up the upper ball joint. $17mm nut. Here's your knuckle. 19mm for the lower strut bolt. $17mm for the nut. $14mm for these upper strut bolts. And here's your strut. 14mm bolts. But that bushing is literally non-existent. And right there you can see the bushing is separated from the sleeve. nut and 19mm bolt. $19mm bolt and nut for the rear control arm bushing. $10mm for this hose right here, you got to remove so then you can get the bolt out. Here's your lower control arm. 17mm for this lower sway bar inlet. Lower ball joint for the knuckle, 17mm nuts. Got a new ball joint. This is just to swap it. We'll torque it down once it's on the car. 17mm bolt that holds the strut to the strut mount. With the new strut, we're going to align this dimple where the bolt goes through. And there you go. There's two different spreaders that you can use, but if you can't do it by hand, they have these little spreaders. There's this oblong one where you slide it in and then you turn it. Or you can get this wedge, slide it in here and spread it apart. So you have options. Just going to snug it down for now. I'll torque it once we get in the car. We're going to do a rough measurement from where it bottoms out on the inner tie rod to the middle of the outer tie rod. Because all this is going to need an alignment anyways. We're just going to have to get it close to where they could drive down the road. Now I'll go ahead and measure it. Got it to roughly where the other one was. Now I'll go ahead and torque it down. So this is going to be good enough just to drive to the alignment shop. Now I'll go ahead and install it. Lightly snugged up the back and the front. We'll torque those down under load. Go ahead and install our upper control arm. We're going to go ahead and snug this up lightly. So they're snugged up, but you can see the bushing could still move. So we could torque it down under load so it doesn't wear out the bushing. We'll leave these loose now until we load it up. All these torques I found online, so do your own research to verify. You could torque this one down as is because it's a ball joint, so it's allowed to spin after the fact. 33 foot-pounds. $87 foot-pounds. 65 foot-pounds for the ball joint to the knuckle. $116 foot-pounds. Upper mounts for the control arm are 47 foot-pounds. Since you can't get a torque wrench in there, we're just going to tighten it up as tight as we can with the wrench. $43 foot-pounds. 58 foot-pounds. Calls for 18 on this one. Seems kind of light, but 25 foot-pounds. 40 foot-pounds for the sway bar inlink. It's 47 to 54, so I'm going on the high end 54. Torque is 207 foot-pounds. And there you go. You got your whole new front end. Hopefully this video helps y'all. Y'all have a good one.